Oh, sorry. That's for a Democrat show.
Let me know when you're ready.
No matter what the technical difficulty is, this man is a professional. He goes all the way.
What you represent to them is freedom.
Was an extremely great conservative commentator. We're tearing it up on Wednesday night. This is awesome. This will allow me to retort.
Well, this is Jersey Joe for the Reaver of Common Sense show. 8 p.m. on shrmedia.com.
Actually, I just totally screwed up. This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense show. I am your host, Jersey Joe, now making sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover is here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to watch a broadcast, pretty easy. Go to Reaver.1. Click on the live stream. Sorry, shiny light caught my eye. Distracted me. Damn keys. Our caller's calling in. And good morning, Beezy.
Well, good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, too. Everybody, we have BZ calling in. And, wonderful to have you here, sir.
Well, thank you very kindly. I'm very happy to be here, particularly in light of our pretty exciting weekend.
Yeah.
Starting about Friday, I believe.
Was it Friday? No, Saturday morning. Unless there was something on
Saturday
Friday.
Morning? All right.
Yes.
It was the weekend.
Yeah, it was a very interesting, to say the least, weekend. Oh, and some breaking news that just came out of Fox. Angelina Jolie has just filed for divorce from Brad Pitt.
Oh, no. Oh, no. This is terrible.
I know.
You know, that's going to suck all the air out of the news rooms all across the nation and possibly the globe. So really, we must pay attention to that and to nothing else. You know, that
exactly.
That uncomfortable bit of stuff that occurred on the East Coast over there, pay no attention. That really is not deserving of any attention. I mean, it's had its fill, it's had its run. Let's consider the things that are really important in life, shall we now?
Well, I just had to throw that out there. You know, it was breaking news on Fox. I saw pop up.
Let's not minimize it. Let's give it its actual due. The reason you brought it up is because it really is worthwhile, and all the rest of that stuff, piddly.
Well, what I found funny about it is if you look at the marriage, Brad Pitt's kind of a little bit left-wing nut job, and Angelina Jolie has been kind of right-wing lately, and I wondered how they had different opinion on stuff, how it was going to last. Because they seem to have been pretty differing. But
that's interesting. I was completely you have stumped me now, Jersey Joe, because you have caught me flat-footed, so to speak. I was completely unaware that Angelina Jolie was even remotely close or even within 2 or 3 zip codes of conservative.
Well, maybe not conservative was the wrong word, but I know she is heavily anti-Obama. She does not like that man. She doesn't like a lot of his policies either. Now that I think of it, Brad Pitt's pro-gun, but he's more liberal. Damn, that is a kind of weird thing. Now that I think about it.
If she doesn't like Obama, then my first thought that popped into my fetid skull cap was that Obama is insufficiently left for the left. That was my first thought.
That's kind of weird. Now I'm gonna have to, after the show's done, I'm gonna have to look that up and check that out, because now I'm wondering if I was totally right on my thinking at first. I might have been mistaken. Well, let's get on with what we actually decided to talk about. I just had to throw that out there. It actually had my wife a little depressed. Not depressed, but she was walking away like, oh my God. So, all right. Sorry for that curveball.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
All right, where were we?
My first question to you, when we were writing about today, one of the things that I was very interested in is your take on what happened this past weekend. And I have to tell you why. There is, in my opinion, a disconnect between the East Coast and the left coast, many, many hundreds, thousands of miles of disconnect, because it's not specifically happening at the rate and with the tenacity of what's occurring on the eastern seaboard with people around New Jersey, like yourself, New York, etc., up in the northeast portion of the United States, where it's clear that these lovely little idiots seem to be concentrating, although they'll probably spread their glee around the rest of the United States given time. But because of that disconnect, it doesn't strike people on my side over here on the leftist coast as much as it strikes folks over there. So that's why I'm curious, is there any sort of a feeling or an undercurrent, or is there eye rolling and people are going, oh crap, here we go again with more of this?
I'm down in Florida, so I'm a little bit away, but I can tell you from the area that I live in, it is actually a high population of the Northeast people that have migrated down here.
That's why I was curious.
It has a lot of us. I don't want to say flashing back. That's the wrong word, but for lack of a better word that I can think of right now, it has us flashing back to 9/11 and what we felt that day. It's nowhere near that day, but it has us. At least me, it has me back to being pissed off, angry. I don't see a lot of people rolling their eyes. It has them angry again. I'm trying to get the words together for this because it's just, they seem to attack, because if you think about the world notion, where do you think of the heart of America? You think of New York City. They think by hitting in that area, they are hitting at the heart of the United States. They're going to keep hitting there. It's an easy, I don't want to say easy target, because there is the police force there. They're leading the way in anti-terrorism within a police force. But you can't be everywhere every moment. And it's easy to set up these bombs like they did. It's amazing that it wasn't done before. If these guys, this guy, actually knew what he was doing, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. Hitting Seaside, New Jersey, that is, I mean, the only thing I can think of why they hit it, besides the fact that there was a military 5K run, the Marine 5K run that was there, is because of, well, Jersey Shore. And that is a home away from home for me during my 19, 20, 21-year-old time frame. I'd be down there every weekend, me and my buddies, hunting the girls, trying to pick them up. So hitting that area, really, that hit home with me again. And hitting,
don't you think it was the Marine aspect of the run, however, that
it was? I think it was both. I think it was both. I think a lot of these idiots, they get the notions. I mean, why did they pick Seaside? There's Marine runs all over the place. They're all over the place. Why did they pick Seaside? Jersey Shore. First thing that popped in my mind was Jersey Shore, television broadcast of it. It's worldwide known. So why else pick that when you have Marine runs? And I'm not trying to belittle the attack that it would have done on the name of the Marines. It's the fact that they're all over the place. You have Fort Dix Air Force Base, McGuire Air Force Base, right there. It's like an hour away. You could have done something in that town. Small little town that it would have made major news if you would have done a bombing there because it's a military town. You have Lakeland Air Force Base. That's 30 minutes, if that, from Seaside. I think they hit it because these are some of the known targets more around the world. Now, if you said Lakeland, New Jersey, would anybody know Lakeland, New Jersey? Anybody besides a history buff? If you hit Fort Dix, only the military personnel would really know about Fort Dix, New Jersey, you know? But Seaside, everybody knows. It pisses me off, and it makes me really look at the fact that our government is in denial because actions speak louder than words. Hillary Clinton, Obama, this whole progressive left has been hiding the fact that because they're such tree-hugging, loving people and they're against war that they created this monster. And now Obama's just trying to kick the can down the road to drop it off at the next president, no matter who it is. He doesn't want to attack. And I'm sorry, these military bombing runs that we do are not doing anything. I equate it to if I'm attacking someone's house. You know, if I'm throwing stones at it, that gives them a chance to run around from the side and attack me. Because throwing stones at someone's house isn't really that big of a deal. You know, it's not an offensive attack. You need to hit them with ground. You got to trap them in that house where they can't be planning any offensive attacks. All they're worried about is defending themselves. And that's what we need to do with ISIS. We need to take the fight to them and make them really start losing, not just territory. We need to make them start losing battles. We need to make them run and hide like we did Al-Qaeda. Send them into the mountains. Send them into caves. Send them back to primitive time. Because when they're on the run like that, nobody's going to want to be a part of that organization. Al-Qaeda was getting decimated. They were losing people because nobody wanted to join a losing team. Here comes Dumbo and Dummette, and they ease up the fight and allowed both organizations, one to get created and the other one to get stronger. And we go and end up getting attacked again. And I see this as a prelude to more attacks. And the Minnesota, I think, doesn't get enough attention. And
I would have completely agree with that, but I have a question for you. Because ISIS has said essentially, we'll be back, my question to you, what do you think? Is this now the new normal?
Yeah. And I think you have a group of people in this country that are ignoring what's going on. They think this is nothing. They're being taught that this is normal. This is a worldwide issue. This is normal. It's going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, I am on the thing that we don't give up freedoms because security is illusion, but there's stuff that we could do to safeguard ourselves a little bit better than what we're doing. This is going to become the norm unless we get a president that's willing to take the fight. And then I've been saying it for years now, and I'm glad to hear somebody like Trump finally stepping up and saying it. We pay millions of dollars to train these generals how to fight wars. War breaks out, and who fights the war? Our politicians. They need to sit back and do oversight, yes, to make sure that our military is staying in line. But we need to let our military fight the fight. They are the experts. Politicians stick their nose into too much and screw things up. But
I have an interesting quote, and let's see if you'll be able to hear it from here. Let me know if this came through.
We have to win. Let's be clear, though. Islam is not our adversary. Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
And there you go, in a nutshell, the leftist's guide to Islam.
But if you also, because I thought about that with Hillary making that quote, and the left keeps jamming that down our throat. What did they tell us for years that Democrats were? They were the party of choice. They were the party of tolerance. And now what do they tolerate?
Well, and here's another little wonderful tidbit. De Blasio has doubled down on stupid. You remember, I'm sure, his quote this past weekend that said, we don't really have any clear indicators that this is terrorism. And now he said, I think we need to accept with open arms even more of these people. I find that beyond staggering.
Oh, yeah.
Incomprehensibly.
Sorry, I thought you were going to play an audio clip. I don't understand this mentality of, okay, we just got attacked, and what does Obama do? Announces we're going to increase the number of immigrants and refugees from the Middle East, from countries that are causing all these issues, that have a high population of terrorism. So we're going to increase right after an attack, and you have the left, they just sit there and go, okay, import more murderers. I forget who said it, that if we import 1,000, 10,000 people, and even one of them is a extreme jihadist, that is too many people we brought in then. Because that one, he may not commit the act, but he'll be in the ears of people and getting them to switch over and commit those acts for him. So that one can create 10, 20, 100. You get what I'm going with that?
Well, yes. Obama said he wanted 10,000 of these Syrian, air quote, refugees, unair quote. Those young male Muslims of military fighting age into the United States. So he got his goal. He got his 10,000. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. He didn't get 10,000. He got 11,000. And a good bulk of those particular individuals, we really have no idea who they are. James Comey, as stupid as he may be, actually said the truth one time when he said there's no way to vet these particular people. There's no database that one would access, and I don't see that he has the personnel or anyone has the personnel, much less the inclination to sit each one of these individuals down and have them have a good, actually, one-on-one interview with them, particularly in light of Takia. So it absolutely makes no sense to himself. But one thing we do know about Hillary Clinton is that she said she would vastly increase the number of Syrian refugees into the United States. And again, I sit in amazement at ridiculous statements like that, but considering what she said, that makes perfect sense in her world. Well, someone I bopped on Twitter about 10 minutes ago, and George Clooney's estate in Como, Italy, which is a lovely resort, but he has millions of dollars to be able to spend on something like that, is now rife with refugees. Well, George, put your mouth, put your stance where your mouth is, open your gates, and take in, 100, 200. You probably have the room and the land to be able to do it. But no, it's his ox, their ox. Leftists' oxen are not being gored like the people, the rabble, the rest of us ground dwellers here in the United States.
It's also goes to, I've said the same thing about the Pope. He's run his mouth, and everybody says, well, you know what? Open your gates. Let those refugees go into the Vatican, and you house those refugees in there. And actually, someone said that to him. They said, no, there's a security issue. But you're okay, and you're trying to force that upon the people. And it kind of goes to Trump recently was talking about Hillary and her anti-gun stance. And he's going on the attack of, well, if she wants to ban guns from American people or not allow American people to defend herself, she should have her Secret Service disarm themselves. She shouldn't have the right to be surrounded by guns if she's going to take the way for the common man to defend himself. And all of a sudden the left is going on there, oh, he's calling for an assassination bit again. And it's like, how do you... They can't argue the point, so what do? They scream, he wants her assassinated. And I love it that people are finally waking up and not buying into this bullshit anymore. I just love it. Oh.
Well, it's a completely nonsensical statement. I mean, the premise is good, but the response lacks credibility. And that is, if you're, walk your walk, after you talk your talk. So if you say that guns are good for no one, then that should be absolutely correct across the board. However, if you're of sufficient import to have your own personal security staff, the only reason for your security staff is you must think in your heart of hearts that you need defense. And you must also believe in your heart of hearts that the most appropriate way to acquire that defense is through a firearm. But they don't get the connection of the dots between the two is if it's good for one and you need defense, why is it that no one else would fall into that category?
I'm a very much, because of my father's shooting and stuff, I'm very adamant about everybody's the right to defend themselves. I lived in a state like New Jersey that it is next to impossible for you to get a concealed carry permit, and the criminals do not give a shit. They count on it, and there was a recent study, 1950 to 2010. 100% of the mass shootings happened in gun-free zones. And then from 2010 to modern, it's like 97% of them happen on gun-free zones. And it's just mind-boggling that they can't get it through their head that it's these gun-free zones that are causing it. That's one of the reasons my dad got shot. That criminal walked into my dad's work knowing both of the men were unarmed, and he can commit his heinous crime without any issue. Because that's what criminals want. They want the easy way out. They want the easiest amount of work to get what they need. So going into a gun-free zone is just candy to them. They love it. And liberals are serving them up. They want to disarm. And I hate the argument, well, they don't want to ban guns. Well, if they didn't want to ban guns, how come in the late 80s, after Reagan's shooting, they did that think tank study, how to ban guns. They paid millions of dollars on how to ban guns, but they don't want to ban guns. They know they can't come out and say that to the people because they admit they'll lose every election if they say that. So they have to go with this sensible gun control and work their gun ban slowly. And the think tank came up with it that they have to slowly make the requirements so hard and so strenuous that the common man will say, you know what, it's too hard for me to get a gun, I'm not going to get one. And then when everybody gets to that point, they can go and ban guns, and everybody's going to be thinking, well, I couldn't get one, so who gives a shit? Go ahead, ban guns. And that's how they get the handgun or gun ban in the United States. And that's what they're doing. They keep trying to add regulations to make it more strenuous for Americans to get it.
Well, that's absolutely correct. It's the frog in the boiling pot
Exactly.
syndrome. I live, unfortunately, in occupied California, and here, coming up in November, ballot will be a measure from our lovely Mr. Newsom, the lieutenant governor. Well, it's already a law that if you wish to, it's going to be confirmed shortly, I should say. If you wish to buy ammunition, you're going to be backgrounded to purchase ammunition like you would if you were purchasing a firearm. There's going to be a proscription on a 10-round magazine. What they're not saying is that they're going to want people to turn in their magazines, or you're going to have to transport them out of the state. And I can see in our immediate future that a lot of the people in the state of California are going to tell the state itself, you can go, frankly, to blazing hell. That's just not going to occur. But leftists talk a talk, but they won't walk a walk. It's like the old saw, and you've probably seen this photo. If you really walk your walk, then be proud of your stance. And in your front yard, I'm sorry, leftists don't buy homes. They like to live in little urban rat hammocks. So what you ought to do is put on the door of your little teeny apartment, unless you're living in the basement with your parents, which you probably are. You could put the door on the sign on the door to your parents' basement. Is say, this is my little leftist gun-free zone. Dear all public people, there are no guns within this residence. I don't see those signs. I don't see those people walking that walk. And I don't see them talking that talk. Be proud, leftists.
Yeah.
Stand up for your rights. Tell them what you really think. This is my home is a gun-free zone.
Well, I read it in the paper where a conservative put a sign up in his yard that it's one of, and he was being a smartass about it, he's pro-gun, but don't worry, my neighbor just doesn't like guns, doesn't have guns, and I won't defend. Well, the neighbor flipped the lid saying, you're going to get my house robbed by putting that sign up. And it was like, duh.
Imagine that.
I love my in-laws, but they are, my father-in-law is anti-gun to the word go. And I laugh at some of the hypocrisy that I see because my brother-in-law, their son, lives in California. So they all went out there to visit him. And he took them to a gun range where they shot Uzis. One of the most deadliest not even handguns, machine guns in American history within gangbangers, especially in California. How many thousands of people were killed by Uzis during the 80s with drive-by shootings in that?
The Uzi, yes, you're right. The Uzi was extremely popular in the 80s, along with the
small combat,
the Mac 10.
Yeah, but they come to my house.
They disappeared.
Well, they come to my house, and all of a sudden, oh my God, they got an issue because I got an AR-15. But you'll go pay money to shoot one of the deadliest gangbangers' weapons, but an AR-15 because it's in the public that it's dangerous. And I brought it out, and they got all scared. I'm like, Jesus Christ. They're actually scared of that just standing there. I'm like, it's not going to do nothing. It's not loaded. It's the appearance, and trying to show them that it's just the appearance that they want banned. They can't even listen to reason. They won't. And I even asked them one time, I said, would you rather get the phone call? Because here in Florida, we have the castle doctrine, we have self-defense rights, we have the right to defend ourselves. If we're put in a bad situation, we can defend ourselves. And I love it compared to living in New Jersey. Holy shit, is this state free? I hear people complaining that we're not free enough, but you'll always have that argument.
Well, yes, Florida has the stand your ground ability from George Zimmerman, and everyone thought that was a terribly heinous case.
Oh. Yeah, you guys, the kid's on top of Zimmerman, bashing his head into the concrete, and that's not deadly force. I asked someone that was arguing, and I said, I want you to go outside and smash your hand into the concrete, start punching it. No, that's going to hurt really bad and probably break my hand. Okay, now imagine your head. Oh, no, that could kill me. But you just said there was no deadly force used by the kid. That's different. He was following him. Yeah, and if the kid would have went home like he was on the way, and got his father, they called the police, they probably could have got Zimmerman arrested for stalking him or something. And instead, the kid decided to take it upon himself, double back, and jump the guy. Well, you take things upon yourself like that sometimes, you're going to get. And now I got from my in-laws. Well, he thought he was a police officer. I said, I don't think I'm a police officer. They're like, oh, we know you don't. I said, I've seen stuff in my neighborhood, and I will go check it out. It's called watching over each other's houses. All my neighbors directly around me, we all watch each other's house. We all pay attention to what's going on in the neighborhood. So we have been pretty safe for the past several years. We've had some small incidents, but we all let each know what's going on. We all watch each other's houses. I mean, we're not outside with the binoculars, but if I see something that's out of the ordinary, I go outside and I look. I investigate. And they do the same thing. I've had it where I've seen my neighbors come walk into my yard. I jump out, hey, what's going on? Well, some idiot just walked by and was doing XYZ, so we came down to see what was going on. You know, that's what neighbors do. And that's what George Zimmerman was kind of doing. He saw something. It wasn't because the kid was black. Because we're in fucking Florida and he's wearing a hoodie. It's like 80, 90 degrees. You don't need a hoodie. If you're wearing a hoodie, you're up to no good. And he had just shoplifted from a convenience store. He had drugs in his system. And I don't understand, and I don't mean to jump subjects. And then we have to go to break because we're actually late. All these incidents that Black Lives Matter that are pushing upon the American people as, you know, injustice are all criminal acts. They're not pointing out actual innocent people that have gotten murdered by cops. You're pointing out not self-defense, but justified killings. And
yes, exactly.
Go ahead.
What did Michael Brown do before he encountered Officer Wilson? That's the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's Freddie Gray was dealing drugs in the park. And and I believe, didn't he have a weapon on him, like a knife or something? That's what also got him arrested after the stop and search. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think so. And also the man that was selling illegal cigarettes in New York City.
All he had to do is sit there, put his hands up. He's gotten hit by it before. He's gotten out in a couple minutes. He's gotten a slap on the wrist from New York City. And I hate the people that are going after the cops for all these issues. Well, it's a stupid law. Well, go bitch at the goddamn liberal lawmakers that keep putting these laws into effect. Not the police officers that are enforcing the laws that the politicians make. Go bitch at them, not the cops. Well, they shouldn't have to enforce. That's their job. Oh, my God.
Yes. When you come back from break, I have an interesting observation about something like that as well.
Oh, it just drives me nuts. All right, you're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Radio, ICRN Network, YouTube, Speaker, iTunes, and Red Nation Rising. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Now, at Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our Gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. And we also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
My name is Chris Peranto, call sign Tonto. I was with the Global Response Staff. We were the security element for the Central Intelligence Agency in Benghazi, Libya on 9/11/2012. Myself and my team responded to an attack that killed Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, and two of my teammates, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty. Radical Islam is basically terrorism in a nutshell. It wants to not only put down Western values, it wants to kill anybody that supports those Western values, which is freedom, which is Christianity, and which is also anything that looks poorly on Sharia law. We've allowed it again to grow into something that it shouldn't be, and it's becoming stronger and stronger every day that we don't lead from the front. Obama and Hillary, by avoiding the phrase radical Islam, they're being politically correct. They don't see it for what it is, and that's straight up destroying the Western world. Radical Islam doesn't have a fear. They will give up their lives. They will detonate themselves. They will do anything they can to fulfill Sharia law and kill the infidels. If we're not able to even say radical Islam, the word radical Islam, there's no way we can fight it. There's no way we can defeat it. The United States of America doesn't lead from behind. We are always setting the example. If not, we're going to see terrorism get bigger and bigger, and eventually it's just going to be continual lone wolf attacks in the United States. And I don't want that to happen to my kids. I don't want to see my family go through that. Please join me in waking up Washington in this fight on radical Islam, seeing the threat that it really is. Sign up at leadingfromthefront.org.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mud Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date with everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense show. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover is here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to watch a broadcast, go to Reaver.1, click on the live stream. And if you want to support the show or support SHR Media, go to Reaver.1/shop. That is REAVER.one/SHOP. We have a very special guest, BZ. So now where are you taking us?
Thank you for your take on that. I appreciate that. I really do continue to believe that there's a disconnect between what happens on the right coast and what happens on the left coast. The other thing that people fail to understand is that when some folks indicate that there are no-go zones in France, for example, with regard to Muslims, those same no-go zones are already developing in the United States of America. And I've had any number of people tell me that you're a loon, you're a tinfoil hat wearer. That's absolutely not true. Well, it actually is. You were discussing Minnesota, which I find kind of odd because the people that are living in Minnesota come from a rather arid, dry, hot environment, and how they happen to choose Minnesota for a number of Somalis to live in is kind of odd. But Dearborn has been completely transformed. Hamtramck has been completely transformed. And if you bring in more people, the thing that I find absolutely incredulous, I stand incredulous, or in this instance I sit incredulous right now, is that leftists cannot see the connection between what is occurring on our soil and the importation. It is the direct and purposeful importation of more Syrians, the greatest bulk of which are Muslim. I think the last figures that I can recall is 0.46% of the persons that have been brought into the United States are Christian. And you're simply going to have problems with that. So you're going to import more of these people. Why do you do that, considering the circumstances that are going on in Europe and considering the circumstances that are growing in here? We don't have to do this, and yet it's been determined by leftists that we are going to do this. That connect simply fails me.
Well, if you look worldwide, Europe is having that. You have these government officials on the left that think this is what's best for everybody's country. They're ignoring and they try to minimize the opposition to it, saying it's just a small group that hates Muslims. They look at Germany specifically, what's going on there. They've pushed this massive Muslim migration into their country. The government said, we know what's better. We're going to do this, even though the people spoke against it. And now what's happening in their elections? Those that brought in are getting elected out in mass droves. Merkel's party has taken a historic hit. And I think we might have that here because we have that left side that just wants to ignore everybody that's speaking up. And if it wasn't for the word racism, xenophobe, and all that, they would have no argument against us. Because that's the only thing they could do. And I agree with you. I can't see where the logic is behind them to say, let's do this. This is the smart thing. It's like, okay, we got several serial killers around this area that are homeless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing homeless people to protect the homeless into my house. I just wouldn't do that. If the homeless are sitting there committing these heinous crimes, the last thing I'm going to do is bring homeless into my house. Maybe it's because I can see logic and they can't. They're so full of emotion. Everything's emotion bound. Well, it's the right thing to do. It feels good to do it. Killing yourself is not the right thing to do. Killing my daughter, killing my wife. And they scream that they're for the LGBT, PDQ community. They say they're for women's rights, but then they bring in this group that's against the LGBT community. They're against women's rights. They're against everything that liberals stand for, but yet they still keep protecting them. That's the one that has me really dumbfounded.
Well, yes, the people that are supporting Islam, leftists, would be the first people killed under an actual leftist regime. Question to you. Do I have about 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to bring up an issue on your show that I've never brought up on anybody else's show because I have an actual memory. And it reminded me of a particular article that I saw about 5 or 6 years ago. Well, I've discovered, since we were chatting, that particular article. And it came from the BBC News in October of 2010, 6 years ago. The headline of that particular article says, Merkel says German multicultural society has failed. She said this so-called multiculti concept, where people would live side by side happily, did not work, and immigrants needed to do more to integrate, including learning German. The comments come amid rising anti-immigration feeling in Germany, even back then, in 2010. A recent survey suggested that 30% of people believed the country was overrun by foreigners. In 2010. Imagine that. Merkel told the gathering of younger members of the Conservative Christian Democratic Union, CDU party, on a particular Saturday that at the beginning of the 60s, our country called the foreign workers to come to Germany, and now they live in our country. We kidded ourselves a while. They won't stay. Sometime they will be gone. But this isn't reality. And, of course, the approach to build a multicultural society and to live side by side and to enjoy each other has failed, utterly failed. That was 2010. Fast forward to 2016. Angela Merkel opening up her arms and dare anyone to tell me that she wasn't the linchpin, the stepping off point for the purposeful importation of Muslims into Europe. Yes, first she invited them with open arms into Germany, and then she created hell for every other country in the EU surrounding Germany and some members that aren't in the EU. So my question is, what happened between 2010 and 2016? My guess would be German guilt, Western civilization guilt. I have a phrase that I use on my blog, GAUPS, G-O-W-P. She is a GAUP. That is a guilty, overeducated white person. And I think that she, after a while, began to feel sorry. She let emotions run her brain instead of her common sense, and that's why Germany is in its current state of affairs. But I go back and attempt to remind everyone that wasn't her outlook in 2010.
See, I think it goes differently than that. George Soros has admitted he's the one that's funding all this and pushing all this, and I just think that he bribed enough of these officials, namely Merkel. You know, he bought her off to push this issue. That's the only thing I could see, because even guilt, I can't see, okay, I'm going to ruin my career to do this because of guilt. I'm not going to deny it, but
think it's a
I think it's a math.
I don't think it's a matter of that, even thinking in that fashion. I think it's a matter of a bit of German guilt because of what happened during World War II. She remembers. She's old enough to remember what happened during World War II.
My brother-in-law went over there, and he said every time he would look a German in the eye, they would immediately look down. And he said they just had this look of shame on them. And he talked to a couple of them, and they said, yeah, when they see Americans, they're ashamed of their past. And I'm just sitting there going, that was, 60 years ago? Get over it. It's done with. It's not even – you're not the ones that committed the crimes. I get tired of this guilt issue. You didn't do nothing, but you're supposed to feel guilty because your ancestors did it? You had no control.
But here's another little tidbit that I'd like to throw into the mix as well. leftist philosophy has also added to this, particularly in Europe, and that is this. Birth rates are going down. Birth rates are plummeting. Birth rates are to an absolutely critical point in another country, in Japan, as a matter of fact. So I suspect that a number of these people are thinking, well, my gosh, what are we going to do in terms of employees and workers? It's the same specious argument that's used with regard to Mexicans and the purposeful importation of them into the United States. What we're doing is we're creating an entire subclass of individuals that will never be satisfied. And the reason I say that is this. The persons in the United States who are already well-educated and have graduated college, now whether they've learned something or not, that's entirely different. That could take an entire show by itself. But you have a raft of educated, allegedly educated individuals who are ready to take on American employment. And even those individuals are not finding jobs. Now, what part of this makes perfect sense is it to import uneducated Mexicans into the United States and to import uneducated Syrians, Somalis, etc., Muslims? Islam isn't a religion. It's a death cult. It's a barbaric death cult. To import these people in who have no concept whatsoever of any kind of an education, it's not their fault, it's just the way it is. And then you're going to bring them into the United States and give them employment. You think you're going to make computer geeks out of Somalis that are Muslims? I don't think so. And then let's throw into the mix that particular aspect of technology. Leftists like to make the argument that, we need the Mexicans in here to do the job that the Americans won't do. Yeah. Well, all the jobs that are ill-educated, that require almost no educated, what is happening to those jobs?
They're getting sent overseas.
They're getting sent overseas, and also they're being what? Automated.
Yeah.
There are picking machines now in the United States that do the job of many migrant workers. There are machines that do the jobs now, and you're going to see these kiosks growing in fast food restaurants for a number of reasons.
I think it's
so
Phoenix.
The requirement.
I think it's Phoenix, Arizona, that has a McDonald's. There is no human interaction. Everything from the cooks to the order to the delivery, it's all automated. Everything's done by robot. And McDonald's has said they've had this technology for decades, but they didn't want to put the human aspect out of work.
When you go into a restaurant, a fast food restaurant now in California, in occupied California, you go in and if you want your drink, the person behind the counter doesn't give you your drink and hand it to you. They hand you an empty mug or a glass and they tell you go over there, and there's an automated machine that has a nice little graphic interface, and you push the buttons to have a particular drink that you like poured into your cup. So again, that's a ridiculous argument. Now you're importing. We have enough of a problem with Mexicans, uneducated and unskilled, coming into the United States. Now you're going to double down on stupid and do the exact same thing with Syrians, who are adding another negative to the mix, and that is the religion, the death cult. I'm sorry, I keep calling it a religion. It's a cult, who are coming in, and they are Muslim. And some people who may be listening to you and listening to me are saying I'm a terrible individual for even intimating that Islam is a terrible religion. And to those persons who are thinking or responding in that way, I have a phrase that I like to say. Islam is as Islam does. When Islam stops doing that, I might be more respectful.
Good point on that. I've never thought of it that way, that if Islam stops. Well, I know this may show an innocent way of me or ignorance, but for the longest time growing up, now I'm 45, up until 2001, I didn't know what a Muslim was. I've never really heard of the religion up until then. I remember some history books talking, through history of it happening, but there was never really this major a push about the Muslim religion in the news and the media. Nobody really talked about it until 9/11 when they attacked us. And that's when it seems that people now know what Muslim is. Islam. You know, I don't know. It's just I never realized that. We got to take another break. It's that time again. Hate to cut you off here. And let me see. Where are we? Got to find my mouse. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Radio, ICRN Network, YouTube, Speaker, iTunes, and Red Nation Rising Radio. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
My name is Chris Peranto, call sign Tonto. I was with the Global Response Staff. We were the security element for the Central Intelligence Agency in Benghazi, Libya on 9/11/2012. Myself and my team responded to an attack that killed Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, and two of my teammates, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty. Radical Islam is basically terrorism in a nutshell. It wants to not only put down Western values, it wants to kill anybody that supports those Western values, which is freedom, which is Christianity, and which is also anything that looks poorly on Sharia law. We've allowed it again to grow into something that it shouldn't be, and it's becoming stronger and stronger every day that we don't lead from the front. Obama and Hillary, by avoiding the phrase radical Islam, they're being politically correct. They don't see it for what it is, and that's straight up destroying the Western world. Radical Islam doesn't have a fear. They will give up their lives. They will detonate themselves. They will do anything they can to fulfill Sharia law and kill the infidels. If we're not able to even say radical Islam, the word radical Islam, there's no way we can fight it. There's no way we can defeat it. The United States of America doesn't lead from behind. We're always setting the example. If not, we're going to see terrorism get bigger and bigger, and eventually it's just going to be continual lone wolf attacks in the United States. And I don't want that to happen to my kids. I don't want to see my family go through that. Please join me in waking up Washington in this fight on radical Islam, seeing the threat that it really is. Sign up at leadingfromthefront.org.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cop for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the Reaver of Common Sense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date on everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense show. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I am trying to make sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover is here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch the show very easily. Just go to Reaver.one and click on the live stream. While you're there, you can join the live chat. And if you want to support the show or support SHR Media, go to Reaver.one/shop. Pick yourself up a kick-ass t-shirt. You can also pick yourself up pocket constitutions I have. Custom-made survival bracelets. You know, you can special order them, color, style. Just let me know, and I'll make them for your group, for you. But go to Reaver.one/shop. Welcome back, BZ. And I really want to say, appreciate you being here today. I do.
Well, a couple of quick comments, because I know you have some really interesting topics coming up. The first comment is, number one, thank you kindly for allowing me on your show. You're quite gracious for doing that. Number two, we were talking off air, and one of the things that I told you is I find it not quite astounding, but amazing and uplifting that you can discover you can be on the air Monday through Friday, just like any other radio show, for 2 hours and bring such enthusiasm to the show. So I have to absolutely say that I compliment you about that. And the third thing is, I hope I'm not taking too much airtime away from you, but I heard you say that you create those survival bracelets?
Yeah, I custom make them when they're ordered.
Really? Okay. Well, that's very interesting, because are they the ones that are sort of that woven kind of thing?
Yeah, it's paracord 550, which, you know, it could take 550 pounds of force. It's the same paracord that's used in the military for parachutes. And yeah, I just do the knots and stuff and create the bracelets. So basically what they are is if any chance that you're in a dire situation, and you'll be amazed when 8 feet of rope can come in handy, because that 8-inch bracelet or whatever size, it's basically the ones I make are for every inch there's 1 foot of paracord. So, 8-inch bracelet, you got 8 foot of cord, and if you're out in the wilderness and you get stuck where you're really in emergency, you can untie it very easily. It comes undone, and you got 8 foot of cord. Then you can also strip it apart, pull the individual cords out, and now you have, I think it's 7 cords inside? So 7 times 8 is, I'm bad at math off the top of my head, but whatever. You have that. So they come in handy. The clips, you can use them. It's the stories that I've heard of people using it for different reasons, from car accidents to someone's broken their foot, they're out in the woods, able to tie their leg up, et cetera, et cetera. Tie a tent up while they're in the middle of the woods. Hey, they're great to have around.
Well, that sounds very interesting to me. I think I'd like to order one, and if I were interested in doing that, where do I go for that again?
Reaver.one/shop. That's REAVER.ONE/SHOP.
Reaver.one. Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. Sorry to distract.
Hey, perfectly acceptable. Don't worry about it. All right. Which article do we go with first that I saw?
They're so wonderful. Your choice. I can't
We'll
wait.
go with CNN first. Sally Cohen, who's often stuck her foot in her mouth, made a comment that she is happy free speech is under assault on campuses. I don't even know where to go. I'm dumbfounded that they're even now so openly admitting that they're attacking our basic rights as Americans.
It's rather astounding, but it's not unlike that little carrot top bint that was involved on one particular campus who said to the people, because she disagreed with a particular person, bring the muscle over here, meaning that it was time for that person to leave, and then she herself ended up being fired, which I found actually rather, considering these times, rather astounding that she was fired. But I think that's because she was an adjunct professor and didn't have quite the tenure of other professors. So she was a little bit more susceptible to being fired than some of the other stupid ones.
Well, she also got caught putting her hands on a student. That's what's also helped her get fired.
Yeah, and that's a no-no these days. Oh my gosh, you cannot even begin to dent a snowflake. They're so susceptible to denting. You must be extremely cautious about snowflake feelings.
Yeah, it's amazing the way things go. As an EMT, you call me to come in to help you. The first thing I'm supposed to do and required to do is ask if I can take your pulse, if I can put my hands on you. If not, me coming in and just grabbing your pulse, that's battery right there off the bat. It's amazing how some of these people actually have gone at things and this one just has me dumbfounded. We have Hillary Clinton running for president who said that our constitutional rights, the Bill of Rights, the government has the right to regulate all of our rights, which maybe I was taught wrong. I was taught that the reason why we have these constitutional rights is so that our government cannot touch them. They're set in stone. These are our rights that the government does not have a right to regulate. But someone that speaks for a living, Sally Cohen speaks for a living, and her bread and butter is free speech, that she's happy that it's under assault on campuses. But it also goes to the fact that the only way the left can win their argument is through lying, force, and silencing the opposition. They cannot tell the truth of what they're up to. They cannot have logic injected into what they want done. They have to go through the silencing of any conversation.
It's interesting. I'm sure everyone listening realizes that there are three branches of government: the judicial, the executive, and the legislative. It's been becoming much more obvious to me that leftists would like to take one of those legs of the triumvirate, that tripod, and put ultimate power into one of those branches. And I think the two branches that they would consider would be the executive, because of the decisions that are being made and the precedent that's being set by Barack Hussein Obama. And the other part of the triumvirate that they'd consider is the judicial, by placing SCOTUS as essentially the ultimate arbiter of how decisions are going to be made. But they're still at odds with each other about that. Leftists haven't quite decided what leg of that little tripod they want to place all their eggs into which basket, the executive and giving the president all that power. I think that's number two. And whether they want to put all the eggs into the judicial basket by way of SCOTUS, because if you stack the court sufficiently, then you give the Supreme Court of the United States of America, more power than any of the other two remaining legs. One of the things that I think leftists want is they believe they want a living constitution. They want a 21st century constitution, and they don't understand the basics, and it brings into question, have any of these individuals actually taken a class in the Constitution? Because the foundation of that is delineated with regard to positive versus negative rights. Our current Constitution frames much of what we value in terms of what we cannot do. The government cannot engage in, say, unreasonable searches and seizures. It cannot inflict cruel and unusual punishment, and therefore the individual has a right to not be subject to various items and so forth. The current Constitution does not guarantee so-called rights to such things as housing, clothing, food, jobs, rights that place upon the state to obtain the resources from other citizens to pay for them. And I'd like to emphasize that. Rights that place upon the state to obtain the resources from other citizens to pay for them. That's what leftists want. They wish to enable a solid, rock-solid privileges or immunities clause, which becomes open-ended. And if you make it open-ended, it becomes susceptible to specific interpretation by pre-chosen judges. That's exactly what leftists want. The logical extension, I'm all about the logical extension, might be to allow privileges or immunities, that's a phrase that leftists care to use, to create new rights, and this is definitely, in my opinion, where they're going. They wish to, by way of privileges and immunities, create new rights which could guarantee social or economic equality. And I think that's the direction that they're moving, hence the social justice warriors. Your thoughts on it?
Well, I think her one statement actually says it all, because it's funny because it actually defeats itself. She says that feelings are valid. I'm never going to argue with people's feelings. But she goes on to say that if they feel like they can no longer speak against positive social change, good. Talking about conservatives. She defeats herself in her conversation, because she says feelings are valid, but she says the feelings of the conservatives don't matter. What this comes...
No,
Go ahead.
Only the feelings of leftists are of concern.
Correct. She feels that the pro-free speech conservatives are pushing is just a way for conservatives to squash multiculturalism, which I don't understand how free speech is squashing anything. They want free speech. They want to be able to say what they want. But they don't want anybody else to be able to argue against their points. Hence, the safe zones in colleges, which I thought defeated the whole purpose of some of the basic reasons of college, of differing opinions coming together, conversation happening. You always hear the left saying they want to have conversation, but they never want to talk. Well, they never want to listen. They always want to be the one doing the talking. I've said it before, and I wanted to do what I want to call dictionaries for Democrats. They seem to use a lot of words that they don't understand what they mean. Conversation. Affordable. Right now I can't think of the rest of them, but there's a bunch of them that they're always using these words, but don't understand the basic understanding of them. It drives me nuts. They want social change over what? Basically, they want to be able to do whatever the hell they want to do while everybody else is held to a higher standard. The liberal, progressive, whatever title they want to give it, they just want to be able to do whatever the hell they want without answering or any responsibility for their actions. And that's what it comes down to. They are trying to set down this culture that they can do whatever the hell they want with no repercussions. And
why would you ever want, if you're a leftist, why would you ever want to have standards when you can have no standards at all? What a wonderful world that would be.
Definitely. Right now, this one, it's one of those that's under my skin where it kind of has me speechless and pissed off at the same time. I can't believe we have so many Americans that are so anti-America and anti our rights. But they're the first ones to step up to use our rights for them to spread their propaganda. One of the cases, this goes back a couple of years ago, but it happens all the time in New York. And it pisses my dad off. It pisses him off to no extent. He sees these Muslims sitting on the corner in New York City screaming how bad America is. Death to America, destroy America, etc., etc. But when you try to stop them, they turn around and say, I have the right, American right to free speech. I can say whatever I want. What? If you hate this country so much and one of those rights for you to spew your shit, but you're going to bash? It goes along the football players that are, protesting the national anthem and not standing up. They're doing whatever. And you're bashing a country and using its rights to free speech. You're using those, what makes America great, so that you can bash America. I don't know. Oh, it's got my brain in a Twitter right now.
Well, it's odd because they want to recraft the Bill of Rights, I think, more than the Constitution. And what they're attempting to do is to create these new rights that could guarantee social justice or social equality. And what that turns out to be in reality is that if law moves that way, then your possessions, my possessions, could and would be redistributed as seen fit by your government. I'm sure you probably remember the lovely Hillary Clinton quote that said, where she said, I'm not here to take, we're going to take things away from you on behalf of the common good. Well, if you do that, you are going to, in fact, have to change the Bill of Rights or minimize its importance.
That didn't even click in my head until you just said that out loud. That's, holy shit.
And that came out of her mouth. That's called redistribution.
Yeah, and we have so many levels of it nowadays. And I hate to go to the, somewhat changing the subject on it, but you have global warming. And the only thing global warming, it has nothing to do with the environment. Global warming is a redistribution of wealth on a global level. We put in, $22.2 billion a year from the United States into global warming. There's $300 and some billion a year given to global warming on a global level. What happens to all that money? It goes to these countries that are poor. It's basically socialism on a global level. They're taking from the rich and giving to these poor countries. I hear, people complaining about, well, Europe has a cheaper healthcare system. Well, I seem to remember years ago where it was an agreement set up that the United States would pay a higher healthcare cost because we are a richer nation. We have more money than everybody else. It's only right that we front the brunt of the cost so that Europe, who's not as wealthy as the United States, can have access to healthcare. Now you got everybody complaining about the high price of healthcare here in the United States. You look at let me just make this one last point real quick.
Yes, sir.
Because I had it here in Florida back in 2012. Everybody was not everybody, but the left, a lot of them were complaining about the high cost of energy and going after the governor about it. Until I pointed out, well, this is the results of Obama's global warming. Well, yeah, we need to take care of global warming. Well, those global warming caused him to make EPA regulations that caused your electric bill to go up, which the conservative warned you about, and we were mocked for it, and now you're complaining that your bill's too high and blaming a conservative for it. Do you know how stupid you sound? And one of the ladies like, you know what, you made a good point, I'm an idiot. And she shut up and left the conversation. But we're having that all over the place where, they're blaming the conservatives for the high cost of health care when it's the liberals who are the ones that agreed that we should pay a higher cost so Europe can get cheaper health care. Oh. Sorry, I cut you.
That's absolutely correct. But there are two other aspects about that as well. Number one, healthcare. The NHS is collapsing under its own weight in the UK. They're saying that basically they're running out of money. If they're running out of money, then what are they going to have to do? Oh, I know, raise taxes. And it particularly irritates when anyone in Europe says something similar to, well, we have a wonderful healthcare, medical, social system, and it's so much better than yours, United States. Well, do you know why Europe? It's because after World War II, we brought you back. The Marshall Plan was instituted. We rebuilt much of your infrastructure, and we support and spend billions of dollars in defense spending to support you in Europe. We place our troops there. We support you. We pay into the UN. We pay into NATO. It's the United States, by dint of our defense, that allows you not to spend that money on your own defense, but to cop to us because we spend the money on your defense.
You just made a great point.
So take a big cup of shut the hell up, Europe.
You just made a great point because I've talked about it. You see a lot of socialism failing in Europe. Why? Because, well, we're pushing for a socialism in our country now, so we have to deal back on our military so we can take that money, put it into social programs, which means us taking our military support away from Europe. So now they have to rebuild their military, so they have to take their social money and put it towards the military for them to protect themselves now. And it's failing.
Yeah, well, they want it on both levels.
Oh, yeah, they want us protecting them so that they can have their socialism. And one of the countries has to make the money, has to be the responsible adult in the world. Well, it's on so many levels so out of whack in this world, and the United States has always been the one that stepped up to help everybody, but as soon as there's one issue, it's always the United States' fault for everything that's wrong in this world. You have the Muslims,
I know you're coming up.
Yeah, we're getting ready for a break, but let me...
I know you're coming up to a break, and everyone should read the George Orwell book, 1984, and I'd like to throw a few quotes out before I go. He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. If you want to keep a secret, you must hide it from yourself. But if thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. Ladies and gentlemen, read 1984, written in the 1940s. It's applicable today.
And there's, like we talked about, I've actually never read it. I'm not a huge reader. I'm going to have to sit down and read it now. But there's a lot of stuff that was written decades ago that is pointing to exactly what's happening nowadays. It's our government run amok. But yeah, it's that time for a break, and I believe you're going to skedaddle out of here during this break.
Yes, I am, and thank you ever so kindly for having me on, sir.
Anytime, sir. Anytime you want, you're more than welcome. I told you that time and time again. You're more than welcome on the show anytime. And thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. Do you want to promote your website?
Yes, you can find me at bloviatingzeppelin.net, and I am on Twitter at bzepp. And again, Jersey Joe, thank you ever so kindly. Appreciate it, sir.
No problem, anytime. You've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media, High Plains Planet Radio, ICRN Network, YouTube Speaker, iTunes, and Red Nation Rising Radio. I think I got everybody there. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. We also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
My name is Chris Peranto, call sign Tonto. I was with the Global Response Staff. We were the security element for the Central Intelligence Agency in Benghazi, Libya on 9/11/2012. Myself and my team responded to an attack that killed Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, and two of my teammates, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty. Radical Islam is basically terrorism in a nutshell. It wants to not only put down Western values, it wants to kill anybody that supports those Western values, which is freedom, which is Christianity, and which is also anything that looks poorly on Sharia law. We've allowed it again to grow into something that it shouldn't be, and it's becoming stronger and stronger every day that we don't lead from the front. Obama and Hillary, by avoiding the phrase radical Islam, they're being politically correct. They don't see it for what it is, and that's straight up destroying the Western world. Radical Islam doesn't have a fear. They will give up their lives. They will detonate themselves. They will do anything they can to fulfill Sharia law and kill the infidels. If we're not able to even say radical Islam, the word radical Islam, there's no way we can fight it. There's no way we can defeat it. The United States of America doesn't lead from behind. We are always setting the example. If not, we're going to see terrorism get bigger and bigger, and eventually it's just going to be continual lone wolf attacks in the United States. And I don't want that to happen to my kids. I don't want to see my family go through that. Please join me in waking up Washington in this fight on radical Islam, seeing the threat that it really is. Sign up at leadingfromthefront.org.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cop for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mud Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date on everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense show. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm trying to make sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover's here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to watch the broadcast, go to Reaver.one, click on the live stream. If you want to support the show and support SHR Media, go to Reaver.one/shop. That is REAVER.one/SHOP. Had a great guest, BZ. I love having him on. He's a great guy. I love getting other opinions. So that's why for the longest time I had a call-in number, just because the time of day a lot of people weren't calling in, so I don't put it out there anymore. We did talk about that. There was 2 articles that I really wanted to talk about this social justice bullshit. And this one's not so much social justice. I may have misspoke on that. But MSNBC's Chris Hayes tweeted. He put out a tweet that I'm still dumbfounded. First of all, he put out a tweet there that fantastic news that he was taken alive, talking about what the hell's the dipshit's name? What is it? Khan Rahimi. That he was taken alive. That the U.S. would slit his throat. Get over yourself. I'm really sick of this leftist. They care more about these terrorists than they do the American people. Hillary cares more about ISIS and Muslims than she does the American people. She attacks Trump supporters more harshly than ISIS. She makes excuses for ISIS. And it's absolutely jaw-dropping. But this jackass, that wasn't even the one that one's kind of a, you're a moron. Next, he put out there, we're also very lucky that the attackers try to use explosives rather than guns. See, left would rather have you blown the fuck up than shot. They don't care what the terrorists or how the terrorists kill you, because if the terrorists use a gun, it kind of hurts their whole anti-gun agenda. So explosives are fine. Even though bombs are fucking illegal. Drives me up a wall. Where is everybody clamoring for the banning of pressure cookers? Where are they? And I'm pretty sure the victims that have shrapnel in them are just so glad that he thinks we're lucky that it was a bomb rather than a gun. And he thinks that the gun would do more damage than an explosive. Well, you moron, technically what you're talking about with a gun is a mini bomb that's throwing a projectile shrapnel at you. At its basic sense, that's what a gun is a bomb that's being contained in a cylinder and throwing the shrapnel in a specific direction. I don't think any of the families from the Oklahoma City explosion feel lucky. I don't think any of the families in the Middle East and Europe feel lucky when there's an explosion. This man hates the idea of being able to defend yourself. He ignores the fact that someone went on a mass terroristic stabbing. He ignores that. They're going to ignore Minnesota because that just blows out all their theories. Because what stopped it? A man with a gun. And he talks about very lucky that the attackers tried to use explosives rather than guns. Yeah, that says a lot what he thinks about the Linden Police Department and the 3 that got shot. The gun battle that ensued with this terrorist. Now, if that had been a conservative making a comment similar to the distaste that he did, all you would see on CNN and MSNBC nonstop is about the conservative that doesn't care about the American people. Well, this idiot Christopher Hayes, cares more about fucking ISIS members than he does American people. But yet MSNBC ignores his comments. Just CNN ignores that Sally Cohen's is attacking the First Amendment while using the First Amendment to attack the First Amendment. The disengagement that these progressive liberals have anymore is stupefying. And now we're hearing a lot about Raheem now. Oh, wait a minute. Whoa, we got it back. If we have time, we'll try to get into that. If not, we'll talk about it tomorrow. And BZ and myself were talking earlier that is this the normal of us getting attacked? And the London Muslim mayor tells New York and London to get used to terrorism, that it's the way of modern life. That's going to happen. Get used to it. And she feels that, or he feels that, voting to leave the EU or voting for Trump will not solve any of these problems. So, voting to end the mass invasion of Muslims, the ones that are creating the terrorist attacks, will not solve the problem. Well, if it wasn't for some of these, because de Blasio believes in building bridges rather than walls. What would have happened to China? Throughout history, to protect themselves, countries have built walls. A strong border is not a bad thing, except when you're a globalist that wants open borders, free passing. And I still haven't figured out what the hell these idiots are up to. They're pushing this globalism, open borders, allowing terrorists to run freely, importing mass Muslims. And I can't figure out endgame yet. There's a lot of theories, but I don't know. And it's funny that we have Hillary Clinton, who has a rally and has Omar Mateen's father standing right behind her. She has the London mayor, Sadiq Khan, who has ties to terrorism, supporting her. She has all these Muslims around her and supporting her that have ties to terrorism. Her quote-unquote right-hand woman, Abba Hubadine, has ties to terrorism. It's no wonder why she's so weak on terrorism. She's surrounded by a bunch of people that, harbor and help terrorists. She's surrounded by him. I'm waiting for her to, Raheem's father to be invited to the next Clinton rally. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. They've been canceling them. Hell, they had an event in, I think it was Ohio, where they had volunteers show up. And they were going to go door to door for Hillary Clinton. And it's on film. It's not just somebody reporting. It's on film. And guess how many people showed up? 0. Goose egg. Nobody. Her campaign is worse than what the media is letting on. They're propping her up. If it wasn't for the media, I really think you'd be seeing a blowout. It's not because I'm a Trump supporter, but because of what I'm seeing in reality. Not what the media is reporting. What I'm seeing in reality, talking to people, looking at numbers. Hillary Clinton just had to cancel another rally because there wasn't enough people that signed up for it. God knows how many times this has happened already. While Trump filled an arena. That happens on a nightly basis. Hillary can't fill a high school gymnasium. So you tell me where the numbers are. And don't tell me that doesn't matter. Because the left was sure shoving that down their throat in 2008 and 2012 for Obama. Because when he was filling these massive arenas, he rewrote how statistics for a presidential run should be correlated. So don't tell me it doesn't matter, these numbers. Because they try saying, oh, that's nothing. That has nothing to do with the election. That Hillary has to cancel these rallies because nobody shows up. It's so bad that she's gotten caught using a green screen. I think it's twice now. No wonder why she always looks pissed off. The EU is failing. The social experiment in Europe is failing. The Obama progressive way of life is falling apart and failing. I see more people talking that they're leaving the Democrat Party because of this socialist progressive manner. I see some going independent. I see a lot coming to the Republican Party. They're learning the truth about the Republican Party. It just, and what I'm hearing about this Raheem, as I actually originally wanted to talk about real quick. Friends, I think it's, I didn't save the article. Girlfriend, ex-wife, or mother of his child, something like that, said that he has been going to Afghanistan more than the media is letting on. A close friend of his has said that he has gone back home to Afghanistan where he was born. And 2 years ago, he went over there, came back, and his religious aspect had changed, become overboard. He had become radicalized. And the media is trying to push it that there's no connection. Well, he had been going back to Afghanistan. And the New York Times reports the dramatic arrest of the man came after the police issued a cell phone alert to millions of residents in the area, telling them to be on the lookout. Wait a minute, let me go over this. They don't know when actually he became a citizen, but they know that he's traveled back to Afghanistan a few years ago with his family. He had lived in Elizabeth, New Jersey, where he lived with his family after immigrating from Afghanistan. He had gone back, and that's when they think he had become radicalized. And he had started actually a website to share his radical Islamic views. And a friend of his, Flea Jones, said he was really religious after the trip to Afghanistan. There's several reports that are coming out that this is when he went to Afghanistan and he came back radicalized. And they're trying to make it sound like there's no international connection when last I knew Afghanistan is international. And it seems that's when everything happened, and he's just kept under the radar, and that is your best operatives. You don't want the ones that are on the FBI radar. You want them as scapegoats. You want them as distractions. Your actual operatives, you would want them to be quiet and running under the radar. You wanted that neighbor next door that nobody ever really pays attention to, that's never had any major run-in with the police. That's who you want as your next terrorist. So to say that there's no connection is a bunch of bullshit. It's the left trying to cover up their failures and the creators of ISIS. I'm just dumbfounded. I really am. I can't believe it's not butter. No. That people are so quick to believe that there was no connection. And then after the New York City bombing, Obama finally comes out and talks. And instead of just, we're going to do everything we can, yada, yada, the normal snow job, he had to go and lecture the reporters for talking about terrorism. I asked that the press try to refrain from getting out ahead of the investigation. It does not help if false reports or incomplete information is out there. Well, you know what? Situations are fluid. Information changes. Your administration has not been open like you talked about. You have covered everything up. You have been about as transparent as a black wall. Not because it's racist, just because black you can't really see through. I'm laughing. I'm looking over and they got Hillary Clinton. They got this tight shot. And it doesn't even look like she has that many people there in a tight shot. There's a lot of gaps. Obama's more worried about protecting Muslims, and even the ones that are committing the crimes. He's more apt to protect them than actually identifying the fucking issues and the problems. It blows my mind just how blind some people can be. Especially to say that we're lucky that it was bombs. We're lucky in that their plan didn't actually work. It could have hurt, maimed, killed countless people. And what scares me is they'll learn from this. They'll adapt. And they'll figure out how to do it better next time. This group is not stupid by any means. I mean, I'm not out to compliment them, but they're not stupid. I won't say that. And to sit there and say, oh, you're trying to compliment our enemy. No, but I'm also taking a look and I'm not afraid to say, hey, they're not stupid. I'm not going to go and be denial about certain things. I will take a look and see where their strengths are, and you got to use their strengths against them. You don't want to look always for the weakness, because if I know what my weakness is, I know where to cover up my weakness. My strong points, well, usually people don't try to protect those strong points, but that's where it makes you the weakest. I know it sounds a lot of talking around, but it actually makes sense in my head at least. Well, it's coming to that time, and I want to thank everybody for being here today. I appreciate, I'm honored, And I will be back tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Radio. You can also hear me on ICRN Network, Speaker, YouTube, iTunes, and Red Nation Rising Radio. Until tomorrow, have a great day. You've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense with its host, Jersey Joe. You can tune in every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on hppundit.com and shrmedia.com.